She's not asking out of curiosity. She's watching how your nervous system responds. And in the first 12 seconds, most men fail the test without realizing they were even being tested. Listen closely. When a woman says certain phrases, they are not random. They are probes, subtle psychological pressure points designed to reveal whether your confidence is real or performative, grounded or fragile. As a psychologist, I need you to understand something uncomfortable. Confident men are rare, and women learn very early how to filter them out without confrontation. These phrases are her filter. The first phrase sounds harmless, almost innocent. Are you sure about that? Most men hear doubt and immediately rush to defend themselves. They over-explain, justify, soften their stance, or backpedal. And in that moment, she learns something critical, that your confidence collapses the moment it's questioned. Real confidence doesn't spike under pressure, it stays steady. When you feel the urge to prove yourself, that urge itself is the giveaway. A grounded man doesn't argue with doubt. He allows it to exist without letting it rearrange him. The second phrase is even more dangerous. I usually don't go for guys like you. This is not an insult. It's a test of identity. She's watching to see if you abandon yourself to fit her frame. Many men respond by reshaping their personality on the spot, becoming funnier, tougher, cooler, softer, anything but themselves. That's not attraction. That's self-erasure. Confidence is not about being chosen. It's about being centered enough to remain intact, even when you're not her usual choice. When a man stays relaxed here, she senses emotional gravity. When he scrambles, she feels neediness. The third phrase cuts deeper because it targets your status. Why are you still single? This question is loaded with implication. It suggests something must be wrong with you. Insecure men feel accused and rush to present resumes of past relationships, achievements, or victim stories. But confidence doesn't need a defense attorney. A self-assured man doesn't feel threatened by the idea that being single requires justification. He understands that his value is not measured by relationship history. The calm response here isn't clever, it's embodied. And embodiment is what women feel, not words. Now understand this. She is not trying to hurt you, she is trying to feel safe. Emotional safety comes from consistency, not charm, from stability, not bravado. These phrases create micro-stress, and how you regulate yourself in those moments tells her whether you are a man who collapses under pressure or one who remains rooted. Most men think confidence is loud. It isn't. It's quiet. It's the absence of panic when your ego is brushed. It's the ability to stay present without needing approval. And if this is already making you uncomfortable, that's good. Discomfort is where your nervous system starts telling the truth, because the phrases she uses next go even deeper, into your boundaries, your self-worth, and whether you secretly outsource your value to her reactions. The fourth phrase often comes disguised as vulnerability, and that's why it disarms so many men. I'm not sure what I want right now. On the surface, it sounds honest, uncertain, even soft, but psychologically, it places the weight of direction onto you. She's watching to see if you abandon your own standards in the hope of being chosen later. Insecure men hear this and instantly shift into waiting mode. They slow their lives down. They accept ambiguity they wouldn't normally tolerate. They tell themselves patience is maturity, when in reality it's fear of loss. Confidence is not about forcing clarity from her. It's about maintaining clarity within yourself, even when she has none. A confident man doesn't panic at uncertainty, nor does he chase it. He stays aligned with what he wants and lets misalignment reveal itself naturally. Here's what most men don't realize. The moment you start negotiating your boundaries to keep someone interested, you silently communicate that your needs are flexible, but your desire for approval is not. Women don't consciously calculate this. They feel it. And when they feel it, attraction drains quietly, not dramatically. Confidence is felt as emotional self-containment. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't overinvest to stabilize something unstable. You remain steady, even if it means walking away from potential. The fifth phrase is deceptively playful, but emotionally revealing. You're different in a good way. Men often light up at this, mistaking it for validation. But embedded inside is a subtle challenge. Will you cling to that identity? Will you start performing different to preserve her approval? This is where many men begin shrinking themselves, filtering their opinions, softening their edges, all to maintain a version of themselves she praised once. That's not confidence. That's dependency disguised as adaptability. A confident man appreciates appreciation, but he doesn't attach his identity to it. He doesn't become a character in her story. He remains the author of his own. Understand this deeply. Confidence is not proven by how you respond when things are going well. It's revealed by how little you change when they might not. Women are highly attuned to emotional shifts. When your tone changes, your pacing changes, your availability changes the moment her energy shifts, she senses instability. And instability doesn't feel safe, no matter how nice or attentive you are. These phrases are not traps. They are mirrors. They reflect whether your self-worth is internal or negotiated moment by moment. A man with internal grounding doesn't need to dominate conversations or impress. He listens without dissolving. He responds without performing. He holds his frame gently but firmly. And here's the uncomfortable truth most men avoid. Confidence is not something you display to her. It's something you stop trying to prove. The moment you feel the urge to convince, persuade, or secure, you've already stepped out of confidence and into fear. And fear is loud, even when you think you're hiding it. What she's really testing is not whether you can handle her words, but whether you can handle yourself when those words land. Because the next layer of these tests isn't verbal at all, it's behavioral. And that's where most men lose themselves without ever noticing. After the words come the pauses, the delays, the shifts in energy that aren't explained, and this is where confidence stops being theoretical and becomes embodied. She replies slower. She cancels once. She goes quiet after something meaningful. And suddenly, many men feel an internal alarm go off. They start scanning for mistakes, replaying conversations, adjusting behavior to restore the emotional temperature. But understand this clearly. How you respond to absence tells her more than how you perform during presence. When a man panics in silence, he reveals emotional dependence. When he chases reassurance, he communicates that his inner stability is outsourced to her attention. A confident man doesn't punish distance, but he also doesn't collapse under it. He continues his life rhythm without protest or withdrawal. This is not emotional coldness, it's self-trust. And self-trust is deeply attractive because it signals resilience. Another subtle test shows up when she says, "You're too confident." Most men hear this as criticism and immediately shrink, soften, or apologize for their certainty. But psychologically, this phrase is often a boundary check. She's observing whether your confidence is authentic or fragile. Fragile confidence seeks permission. It asks, "Is it okay if I'm like this?" Real confidence doesn't argue or retreat. It simply exists without needing validation. It's calm, not defensive. And calmness under mild social friction communicates emotional leadership. Then there's the comparison test. She mentions another man casually, not to provoke jealousy, but to observe emotional regulation. Insecure men react instantly, questioning, competing, or withdrawing. Confident men remain present. They don't interrogate. They don't posture. They don't mentally leave the room. Their sense of self is not threatened by the existence of other men. And that non-reactivity creates psychological contrast. It makes her feel the difference between a man who is centered and one who is reactive. Here's the part most men misunderstand. Confidence is not indifference. It's discernment. You care, but you are not controlled by care. You feel interest, but you are not governed by fear of loss. This balance is rare, and women notice it quickly because it feels different in the body. It feels like steadiness, not tension. As a psychologist, I see men sabotage themselves not because they lack value, but because they mistake effort for security. They believe doing more will make them safer. In reality, emotional safety comes from predictability, from knowing that a man will remain himself regardless of emotional fluctuations. When your reactions become smaller instead of louder, you create space for attraction to grow. And here is the quiet truth. Women are not testing you to see if you're perfect. They are testing to see if you are consistent. Consistency signals maturity. It signals that you can handle discomfort without self-abandonment. And when a man demonstrates that, without announcing it, without performing it, it registers at a level deeper than words. Because the final test is not something she says or does. It's whether you can stay grounded when nothing is happening at all. And that's where real confidence lives. When nothing is happening, that's when most men unravel. No messages, no reassurance, no emotional cues to react to. And in that stillness, your relationship with yourself becomes visible. This is the final test, and it's the one almost no one talks about. Can you remain emotionally full without being stimulated by her attention? Or do you feel an urge to reach, poke, remind her you exist? Confidence shows up in restraint, not pursuit. Here's what women sense instinctively. A man who is comfortable in emotional quiet is a man who has a life, an identity, and a center that existed before her and will exist after her. That doesn't threaten intimacy. It makes intimacy possible, because closeness without selfhood feels like pressure, not connection. When you don't need to be constantly validated, your presence becomes choice-based, not fear-based. Attraction deepens when a woman realizes she cannot destabilize you with ambiguity, when your mood doesn't spike or crash based on her tone, when you don't withdraw to punish or overextend to secure. That emotional neutrality is often mistaken for disinterest, but it isn't. It's grounded interest, and grounded interest feels safe, predictable, and strong. Most men believe confidence is something they must display to earn respect. In reality, confidence is something you protect by not bargaining with your self-worth. The moment you start adjusting who you are to avoid discomfort, you lose the very thing she was drawn to. Women don't fall for perfection. They respond to congruence, when your words, actions, and emotional state are aligned. Now ask yourself this honestly, without ego, without performance. When she pulls back, do you stay whole, or do you chase to feel okay again? When she questions you, do you remain rooted, or do you scramble to prove? When she is uncertain, do you abandon your clarity to keep her close? This is the equation that defines your dating life. Confidence minus fear equals attraction. Confidence plus fear equals tension. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments, and answer it truthfully. When attention disappears, does your self-respect stay the same? If this struck something deep, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe for more psychological truths men were never taught, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it before he learns it the hard way.